Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to see you here today at our first Quick Bite of 2023. The Quick Bite series is part of our Growing Readers Together initiative, and Quick Bites are meant to be sort of TED Talk style, like 20-minute-ish chats about different topics in early literacy, especially with an eye to serving our informal family, friend, and neighbor caregivers who are providing early childhood care for those who are not necessarily with an at-home parent or in licensed care of some kind. So we have been working with a project called Growing Readers Together to help libraries develop their services to this particular service population for about 7 years now. And we've had a direct grants program. So Misti and the Silverton Public Library are one of our grantees this year. And we've asked several of our grantees to share about their work during the grant year this year. So that is the theme of our Quick Bite series for 2023. So Misti's going to start us off, and then we're going to have several more between now and the end of November. And you can find all of those on our training calendar at librarieslearn.org. So Becky is our grant coordinator for Growing Readers Together, and so she's going to introduce Misti, our guest speaker today.
Awesome, and welcome everybody. Sorry, just got a frog in my throat. So the first time, I've just started this recently, and the first time I encountered Misti was back in August when I started. We were on a joint meeting, and I just was blown away by what she's done in her library space. And so she's going to share. And for those of you not in Colorado, Silverton is in Southwest Colorado. It's beautiful. It's up in the mountains, and Misti's from a town. Silverton's serves about 500 people. In her community, which also kind of resonated with me because I grew up in a town of 1,200. So Misti, you've got me beat. Anyhow, so she's just going to tell you about how she transformed her space to be more accommodating to early learners and their, informal care. Well, the whole community and their caregivers. So, Misti, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. For those from Texas, I'm originally from Texas. My brother's actually in Allen, so I knew a lot of those places. I grew up in a small town also. I had about 1,300 people in my town. So when I got the opportunity to come and serve in a small library, it was pretty much a dream come true for me. We have a lot of flexibility here because we're small. We run into our own challenges, but we overall are a really great community in a very isolated little town deep in the mountains. And our library is a Carnegie library. So it was built in 1906. And it's a beautiful library, but with all old buildings, we have a lot of crazy things that happen. So that's just a little bit about our library and our town. And as far as myself, one thing I think that helped me in this redesign was my husband is a retired Marine from the U.S. Marine Corps, and we traveled to many duty stations. And the first thing I would do is go to the library, and because I knew I could get information and I could connect and I could get great books. And so as my kids grew and I started to look at things differently from a parent's perspective and a caregiver's perspective, I think that really helped me encompass what I wanted for here. And so kind of where I started, and what you have to do if you're thinking of doing something like this is start with the problem, right? What's the problem? And when I came in, I had fresh eyes, right? I wasn't from Silverton. We had been at a duty station in New Jersey when my husband retired. So I moved from a great big city with a lot of 27 different branch libraries to a town that was teeny tiny with one library. Am I okay? Is everything okay? Okay. And so when I came in, the first thing I felt was, oh, wow, it's like hoarding. Everything's on top of each other and everything's stuck together and the shelves are, and like I said, it was built in 1906. So people just kept adding things onto things, right? So then here I come in, and I'm an open concept girl. I am also a yoga and mindfulness teacher, and I am trained in trauma-sensitive mindfulness. Trauma-sensitive mindfulness focuses on keeping areas safe feeling for people. And one of the easiest things to do is to get rid of walls and barriers and things that are in the way. And that when I came in, my initial thought was, oh, I feel very closed in here. So as someone who has worked through trauma mindfulness myself, I was able to recognize that. So if you've never researched trauma mindfulness or sensitivity, I would highly recommend it. It can impact your space a lot. It has a lot to do with how we feel in our space. And so I also noticed that it was our children's section encompassed our young adults, our teens, and our children. And our children had taken it over, and there was no space for the teens. And all know teens is a tough age, and they're especially tough to try to find where they fit in and where they can feel safe. And as a teen myself, the library was my safe space. So it was very important for me from the get-go to figure out how we could coexist with the children, but also give the teens a little more openness to potentially feel more like they're older, right? And maybe even encourage them to read books that are above their age. And they also, there was a computer in the back, and it was a little confined, and the teens would get on there and get on YouTube and do things they weren't necessarily supposed to. So I was like, okay, we have to reevaluate that as well. I want to be able to see everyone as well. Parents and caregivers didn't really have anywhere to sit. And that was a huge problem because we have so many in our population that we have one little preschool, and it's rather expensive, and there are a lot of people that absolutely cannot afford it. And so we end up with a lot of situations where neighbors watch their children, grandparents watch the children. We help out where we can as neighbors. I do it too for friends of my kids. And so when I thought about all those people that we wanted to come in the library, there just wasn't anywhere for them to really sit comfortably. And when you want to, in my opinion, when I would go to the library with my kids, I wanted to be able to sit down and kind of relax and potentially even read a book or watch them and let them do their journey. And there wasn't a place for a caregiver to do that. So we also, the last problem I kind of assessed was we had one all learning system, the computer program, and but it was only geared towards the preschool age. And we have a good chunk of, my daughter is 10, so she leads the library pack, as I call them, but there's a whole group of that 10-year-old to 12-year-old age group that was coming in here, and there just wasn't anything for them to do other than read. And I wanted to find some other things for everyone to do. So those were my problems. So once I established my problem, and this is what I would encourage you to do, is this is where you get to start dreaming, right? Like, they gave me this money, and I've established all these problems, and I started measuring. I used to be the girl that would hang anything and like, whatever, it'll fit. But my husband has since told me measuring is very important, especially when you're spending other people's money. So I spent a lot of time measuring. I spent a lot of time researching, dreaming, asking people what they wanted. What do you see? What's a cool library you've been in? What's a cool book? I find bookstores often do a really good job in children's sections too, so you can get a lot of inspiration from them. And then I got on social media. I followed every single children's library director or coordinator or anything that I could, because they showcase so much of their real lives on social media. And so I started figuring out okay, this seeing other children's areas is really helping me. And then I had to drill down on the space and how I could open things up to feel more comfortable. So we had this big shelf. It had been there 100 years. I brought in 5 different grown, big, strong men to tell me that shelf was stuck to the ground and it was going nowhere. And that shelf was majorly impeding my vision. because it sectioned off a complete wall. Is there a question? Should I stop?
Yes, we did ask, someone just asked, are you a single level library? And I believe you are, right?
We actually have a basement,
Oh,
and a basement is where our nonfiction is. Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. So our biggest struggle is that we don't have ADA access right now because we're a Carnegie library and it's so old. We're trying to work through that. So in the interim, I try to keep as many things upstairs as I can, especially if I know that there's going to be people that potentially couldn't be up or downstairs. Okay, so this is also the point where I started thinking about technology, toys, games, crafts, and then how that would fit in the children's section. I had a great kids section to me as a mom, as someone who looks at it from a caregiver's perspective, has multiple things for my child to do. So of course there's books. I'd like there to be some sort of games. We have some card games like Go Fish, puzzles that challenge them, like spelling puzzles, crafts. So something that I keep paper and a craft bin out so that they can create whatever they want, right? We have an organized craft time, but sometimes you just want to sit down and make your own craft. And I like for kids to be able to do that. And I'll tell you as a mom, and I know all the moms on here will agree, when you can craft outside your house and not have to clean up the mess, parents are super excited because the mess is all at the library, right? So that was really important to me. Coloring is a great just skill. Like I often will go into the children's section when there's kids in there and sit down and just color. I don't say anything. I just sit down at their little table and color, and inevitably they all join me. And it's a very grounding, calming activity as well. And then of course, stuffed animals. If you don't have stuffed animals, they're annoying. I don't like them. As a mom, I have like 50, but kids love them and they love to snuggle with them when they read. And so I feel like those are really great things. Also in this initial designing time is where you probably want to start thinking about your weeding, because as you move things around, I wanted to lift all of the old stuff out, right? I wanted like a complete refresh. And part of that gives you the wiggle room in your shelves to get rid of a lot of those books that you should have gotten rid of, right? And it frees it up for new and fresh authors, which I love. And it's hard because I hate letting go of books, but something when you're doing a refresh and a clean, just like at your house, stuff has to go. And so this is the perfect time to fit it in. So as I was thinking about my design, one thing I think about when I'm thinking about, redoing my bathroom or redoing anything is like a theme. And the theme can be fun, which is sometimes people don't want to commit to themes because they think perhaps it might go out of style in like 2 years, you're going to have to redo your whole children's section. So for me, what was really important was finding a theme that was consistent with Silverton. It's not going to change, right? Silverton is in the mountains. It's very snowy. It's very beautiful. We have tons of mushrooms. We're in the middle of a forest. So I was at a Books A Million one day, and while I was in this designing in my head process and just looking in their kids section, and they had a little mushroom toadstool seat. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, that's what we're doing. It's a forest because we're in a forest. We had this dragon on our wall that our previous library director had hand painted, and it was beautiful. And I in no way wanted to cover it up, but I couldn't figure out how to feng shui it with what we wanted to do. And so now, and I'll show you at the end of this, our dragon lives among the forest, and he's in the forest, and he's got animals around him now and mushrooms. And it was a fun way to brighten him up. And so when you think about the themes, think about where you are, what's important as a community there, what's for fun. Like we also have a train that comes from Durango to Silverton that's very famous. Probably a lot of you have ridden on it. That was one of our themes. Like maybe we go like the train route. And so it just felt right to honor our little people and let them understand and start to question where we live and what we're a part of in our community. And I feel like going the nature route was a really big positive thing, because I hear them talk about, oh yeah, look, the moose, we have moose here. And they put two and two together, which is, I think, really a pretty thing. We have a mushroom stool, we have log pillows, we have little tree stumps to sit on. We even have a little campfire and s'more set that they can play with. So we really leaned into like the theme of it. Breaking up the sections was our biggest challenge, right? Because I told you this space had the teens, the young adults, everything. I believe it was Kate. Actually, I know it was Kate. Kate came to visit me, and we were helping to reimagine this space. It was when the shelf was there, and I didn't know what to do about the young adults. And she told me, she gave me the best advice. If you don't hear anything today, I can tell you that we're seeing success with it. Move your young adult books into your circulation, into your regular fiction circulation. Mark them with a little bar, a little young adult sticker, obviously, so you know where they're at. But taking those out has moved our teens into our general library, which is right there by our children's section. It's not like we have this great big building, but there's a definite separation, and I'm seeing them like peruse the other books and kind of start thinking about like what's beyond young adult. And I just really feel like it's been such a beautiful thing to watch them push themselves. And also I'm seeing a ton more adults that are reading young adult books because they're in our general circulation. And I love young adult books. I always have. So for me, it's really fun to see people kind of get in that young adult feeling, but they don't feel funny about it because it's not over in the children's section. So that was something that really helped move a lot of the books out so that we could break up the sections. I also, the children's section, and I'll show you in a minute, to really section that off, I got, y'all all seen it, it's like stringy ivy, right? And you can hang it. I hung like 6 pieces of ivy to make like a door into the forest. So you kind of walk through those, but it's a definite divider between my middle grade people who didn't have anything anywhere. So now they've got this new section. And then my teens have now moved out into the bigger part of the section, and everyone kind of has their own little space, which is really nice. We put in 2 unique comfortable chairs. I'll show you, they're very cool. Sometimes we also have a big like recliner. It's been in here forever. Our FedEx man comes and takes a nap every day in it. And so I turned that in a little bit towards the children's section. And so now if like someone comes in, it's difficult for them to maybe get down on the ground or things like that, they can sit in that nice recliner. So the grandmas and the grandpas love that chair, and the kids will crawl up and read books with them in the chair. I hate recliners. My husband's been asking like for 15 years to get a recliner, and I always say no, but then I've seen the success of the recliner at the library. So was there a question? No? Okay.
No, just people sharing certain experiences. We have Kim who is saying, yeah, we embedded young adults into our regular collection too. And Kate was just providing even a little more context of how she got the idea. So thanks for sharing that.
Good. It is it's
awesome.
a helpful, and it really does clear out your section a lot. It gives you room for those middle grade books in your juvenile fiction. So we added a new all learning system. So they have, if you haven't in a while looked at the all programs, they do have a new one that's geared for 7 to 15-year-olds, which is really nice. And it's a beautiful screen, and it's touchscreen or keyboard. So we added that for our older kids, and that thing stays so busy from 3 to 6. Like we have to put a 30-minute limit on it because the kids love it so much. And it really helps too, because the little kids, we just redirect them over to the smaller table where the younger preschool version is. And suddenly, like I said, they've got their own sections and they're far apart, even though they're kind of close together. But it's different for them because they all were squished together. So I guess your perspective is, always really important too. We got new rugs. We got a new toy basket. I added magnetiles. If you don't have magnetiles in your library, they're a very, very creative, easy to pick up, very great toy. I had a couple of older women that had some toys from like the 50s, but they're like the old little people, the little people, but they're like the wooden versions. And those, if you can find little people, right? I don't know what it is about kids. If you have kids, they like to like organize them and make them into families, and they make little stories with them, which is beautiful, and they'll put them all out on the rug. So anything that kids can kind of build from or make a story out of. And then new coloring books, and we got a new craft supply holder. And we also, the last thing we did with the grant was we added playaways. So we are remote. Most people that live here moved here because they wanted to get away from people and technology and all the, busy life. So most of our kids don't have cell phones until they're like in 8th or 9th grade. And for a lot of kids, that's sad because they want to listen to audiobooks like we do. So playaways are a great meet in the middle for them. They can put the playaway in their pocket and listen while they hike or while they're with their friends. And those have been really, really, really successful.
And Misti, one quick question is okay if I?
Sure. Yeah, please.
And because I know you're getting ready to show us in
Yes.
just a second. Is your library, from Jennifer is asking, is your library accessible on foot from the local schools? Wondering how much school traffic you encounter, after school traffic.
Yes, we actually share a property with the school. We're like patty cornered from the school. So when the kids get out, our playground is right next door. They play on the playground, and then they run in here. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
All right. We good? See the space?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for my camera skills here. Let's see if I can switch it around. You guys can get a little tour of our library. So we just put up Halloween decorations. It's an old building. So when you came in before, right here, there used to be just basically a shelf wall. So as soon as you walked in, it was kind of a dividing barrier. So this is our new children's section. So over here is kind of our juvenile fiction, and that's just a sticky mural, guys. You can get those on Amazon. It comes in 3 panels. You can totally remake a wall. So we got our juvenile fiction. Here's our little forest theme, but it's not like quite as baby, right? These are our cool chairs that I was talking about. They lean way back, they come up. So this is the big shelf that everyone told me couldn't move, and I moved it with a crowbar myself. I expensed the crowbar through Growing Readers Together, and I had to explain why. But you can see it opened up so much. And this is our little awe. And then this is our big one right over here. And then that's the recliner I was talking about. So when we have people here, we kind of turn that in. There's some nice floor seats. And then this is our little table with all of our crafts. And we've got some coloring books. And then this is our library dog, Books. Say hi, Books. He's kind of our therapy dog here. So this is our new kids. These little things, I don't even know what you call them, but find them. They stick together. You can build anything with them. These are the magnetiles. These are like what I was talking about. Give them something to spell with, like that's tactile, they can work with. And then here is our little kids section. So here's our mushrooms and the ivy I was talking about. And you go in here and we've got like a little forest trees, and these are just simple decals from Amazon, just so you guys know. So it's really simple. This is the dragon I was talking about. So he's permanent, but we just added him little friends and fairies and all kinds of good things. This is the little mushroom toadstool that started it all. And that's where I sit when I read, which is really fun. And then the kids have these little stumps, and the stumps are also filled with toys. So they kind of have two uses. And then there's our little campfire set. It's like a s'more set with a little campfire. And then lastly, we have over here, this is our middle grade section. And I kind of went with the forest theme, but not quite as like baby. And that's it. That's our little piece of children's section.
That's awesome. Oh, and there's books.
Yes, and there's books.
That is so awesome.
Thanks.
Yes.
That's all I have really. It was really, really fun. Dream big. Like, if someone tells you can't move a shelf, get another opinion, like, because you can really make a great space. And I will tell you, our traffic with our caregivers has spread. We used to not have we have a large Spanish speaking population, and we had nobody that came in here that spoke Spanish. And since we've recreated this space, I see so much more Spanish speaking families come in because it is open. And I think they've heard through the grapevine that they feel like comfortable, which makes me feel really good.
Yeah. And people are, again, and Kate, thanks for putting that in chat if anyone has any questions. But you're just getting all kinds of compliments.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm not looking at the compliments, but I appreciate all of you.
Love the light and all the fun ways kids can discover things. I'll be honest, I live in a small space, Misti, here in an apartment, and I love dual purpose furniture, where like and when you have this little extra surprise. So like and I had forgotten, you probably shared that with us back in August, but I love those little things that they serve two functions, the little,
yep.
Wood stools. So yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing so far if anyone has any other questions, and I know it's nearing our time because we are almost at 10:30. So feel free, we have a moment or two, but because I know you have to open up the library and you didn't get anybody during the time. So
I know, I was so excited. I'm a solo librarian, guys. So I was like, please don't. I left a little note that said, I'm on a presentation, sorry. But thankfully nobody came in, so we're fine. And if anybody,
I put it in the chat. I forgot to say that when I introduced you, but go ahead. What were you saying, Misti?
No, I was going to say, I'm sure you can put my email in there if anybody would like to contact me or needs inspiration. This is like my design stuff. Like, this is like my favorite. I like dreaming and thinking about reimagining spaces. So this was like a fun challenge. And to, in all fairness, I came in as a new person in a different perspective. And so if you've been in your library for a long time, maybe you just need a fresh set of eyes, like a family member to come in that's from out of town or a friend from out of town, just to come look at it and say, oh, well, you could move that shelf and it would open all of it up. And you can't see it because you're like in it,
Right. And Misti, I thought I had my email open and I don't. It's Misti Anderson. I'm going to type it in for them.
It's email. M. Anderson.
M. Anderson. Thank you.
At silverton.co.us.
Okay. Putting it in real quick in case. Silverton, M. Anderson at silverton.co.us. Out we go. And yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for I don't know about anybody else, but it's morning still here in Colorado.
Yeah.
So if I make my morning, this is so awesome. I think that's it. Kate, any last words before I don't know if there's anything else we need to do right here at the end. I forgot to double check.
No, that's great. I just want to thank Misti for sharing with us, especially because we do know like that you're handling everything on your own in your beautiful library. So really just making the time to share all this with us so other people can be inspired and so we can all celebrate your space because it is really just so beautiful. We do have more quick bites coming to include some that are going to talk about changes to outdoor space, some that are going to talk about outreach strategies for informal caregivers. Like, our grantees have been incredibly creative and done all kinds of different things with their libraries to help welcome informal caregivers into those spaces, help connect directly with them. It's just the opportunity to serve all of the children in your community in all care environments, whether they are with at-home parents, in some sort of informal care, or in licensed care, or in some sort of creative combination thereof, depending on what's going on in their community. So just another way to think about who you are reaching and who you could be reaching. So
Awesome.
thank you all for coming today. And I hope that you all will visit Quick Bites again sometime like later in October, because we're going to have some more incredible library folks sharing their work this year too.
Yes, and happy weekend ahead. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us, Misti, and happy weekend ahead to all. Almost there. Bye.